What's up, everybody? Welcome to Show Me the Meaning, Wisecrack's movie podcast.
Show me the meaning!
My name is Jared, and I'm joined here by the Show Me the Meaning crew. We got the original trio today. We got Ryan.
Sup, film fans?
And Austin.
Yo.
Austin, it's been a while, man.
It has been.
For real.
It's good to be back. It's good to hear those beautiful, sultry baritone coming from the other side there.
Oh, well, I'm imagining you're talking about me, but no, I'm kidding. Anyway.
Here, I think now would be a good time to say that funny story that happened to me at the movies, because I went to go see Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and some guy, for the first time in my life, somebody goes, "Hey, are you a YouTube celebrity?" And I go, and he goes, "Wisecrack, I'm here to see Midsommar right now so I can listen to y'all's review, and I'm actually, in my headphones, I have Austin's podcast Owls at Dawn planned." So that was just like a 1-3 punch coincidence, and it felt pretty cool.
That's pretty awesome.
Did he buy your ticket after that? Did you get? Oh, so you got to get the perks of being a celebrity.
I know. I said, pay for my junior mints, and he said, no.
That's awesome. Has that ever happened to you, Austin?
No, I mean, I've had, not where people have met, I've had people that I've met from the podcasts that are like, wow, I just need to adjust because it's really weird to be in your presence sort of thing. And then I've had like emails of friends that are like, oh, my brother's actually a big fan of yours. I didn't realize that. Or people who have met me and they're like, wait a second, you're Austin from Wisecrack? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, oh shit, that's so weird. And they're like, I listen to you all the time. I've had stuff like that. But
yeah, because it's because you've only been here physically once.
Right.
So yeah. Anyway, guys, today we're talking about...
His name is Joe, by the way. Shout out to Joe.
Shout out to Joe.
I won't interrupt you anymore.
Oh, it's all good. Today we're talking about Zombieland, the 2009 film directed by Ruben Fleischer, starring Jesse Eisenberg, Emma Stone, and Woody Harrelson. As always, we're going to go around and get some first impressions about this movie. What was it like the first time you watched it? What was it like revisiting it for this podcast? Let's start with Ryan.
Well, this movie is just delightful. What a good time at the movies. And I really, it's a great combination. I love the horror comedy subgenre. There's like a precious few amount of movies in there, but some of them are my favorite. Army of Darkness, as you know, Jared, was my favorite movie for like a decade. Still has a special place in my heart. But yeah, it's called Zombieland. When I finally did see it in 2008 or so, I have to say that was kind of at peak zombie fandom time, I feel like. And I kind of went in with pretty low expectations, like, all right, another fucking zombie thing. But the best part about it is that this is a fucking hard R-rated movie. that they really use the hard R to make a really awesome movie. Like, and it's really fun. It's written by two great screenwriters, Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick, who did like Deadpool, and most importantly, they did the amazing underrated reality series the Joe Schmo Show. It's like the Truman Show of reality shows where they trick a guy, and they're the geniuses behind that. Anyway, they're really talented writers, and yeah, I think it took them taking a well-worn territory of zombie movies and putting some refreshing life into it. And Zombieland's great. Everyone was good. Ruben Fleischer, the director, is amazing. I love the slow-mo style aesthetic thing he's got going on. And then Jesse Eisenberg and Emma Stone. What good actors. So I really like this movie a lot.
Very cool. So it's worth saying that the reason why we're doing this movie is because Austin said he has not one, but two hot takes on this movie. But anyway, Austin, what do you think about this movie?
That's why we're talking about it? Cool.
Yeah. Well, and
also the sequel has just been announced, right?
Or there was a trailer for it, yeah. So that too.
Yeah, and Jared had never seen Zombieland until now.
That's right.
So
there's all kinds of reasons to tackle this film, but I'll be honest, I don't know the first time that I saw it, because I went through, and I do this sometimes, I did this with the film Sing Street as well, where I can't distinguish the first time from the fifth time because they all kind of happened maybe over the same 1 week period, where I get kind of obsessed with something. And I got obsessed with this film when I first saw it, and I don't know why. Maybe it was this time in my life where I was craving a certain type of human connection, and I was able to vicariously get that by living in Zombieland with these people as they're driving around in their Humvee. I don't know what it was, but it just has this special place in my heart because it was something that was just such a constant, maybe part of comfort and entertainment of my life during, I guess it was 2009 or something like that. I think maybe 2008, something like that. Yeah, when I was studying in undergrad. So I just fucking love this movie so much, man. It's like a breath of fresh air within the zombie comedy subgenre. And the bit in particular where they stop and they go into the Native American store and they just fuck shit up for me is like the pinnacle of freedom. You know, it's like I want to do that so bad. Just have freedom to do whatever the fuck you want in a space and just destroy shit. And there's just something, I don't know, it's like a release of joy. So I just love this movie so much that it's almost like, no matter if anybody ever tells me some criticisms about this film, they just like water off a frog's back, man. It just runs right off me and doesn't affect me. Or a duck's back, whatever the phrase is. But it just doesn't affect me because this movie's so special to me. So I love it.
Yeah, I saw this movie for the first time last night, and I was actually aware of the Bill Murray scene because we had done a video about Bill Murray a couple years ago, and we talked about that scene, so I had seen just that scene, and generally that breaks my rules. I really hate just seeing an isolated scene from a movie because it'll always lessen the impact when you watch the full movie later. But, you know, because it was a work thing, I ended up watching it. But I thought this movie was really funny. Really laughed a couple times. I was watching the whole movie through the lens of like, all right, what is Austin's take? And I have a guess, but we'll get to that later. But it's a good movie. I enjoyed it. I'll definitely see the sequel, and it was a lot of fun. That's all I really have to say. But anyway, guys, we're going to go into a recap. So the U.S. has become a zombie-infested shitstorm, and girl-obsessed shut-in Columbus has only managed to stay alive by adhering to a strict set of rules. On the way to Columbus to see if his parents are alive, he hitches a ride with a fellow survivor on the way to Tallahassee, who is thereby known as Tallahassee. While trying to find the world's last box of Twinkies, Columbus and Tallahassee meet scam artist sisters Wichita and Little Rock, who trick them and take their car and weapons. The boys quickly find a Hummer with an arsenal of weapons and pursue the girls. But the girls get the jump on them again, and after the boys learn that Columbus and Tallahassee are zombie-infested, all four travel together to an amusement park called Pacific Playland, where supposedly there are no zombies. Columbus confesses to Tallahassee that he has a thing for Wichita, and they decide to stop off at Bill Murray's house for a rest. Columbus accidentally kills Bill, and Tallahassee reveals that he lost a son in the chaos. Columbus and Wichita almost kiss, but the next morning the girls take the Hummer and ride off to Pacific Playland without them. After turning on all the amusements, hordes of zombies descend on the attraction, and Wichita and Little Rock have to fight for their lives. Columbus and Tallahassee infiltrate the park and save them. Wichita reveals that her real name is Krista, and Columbus kisses her. Columbus accidentally shoots the world's last box of Twinkies, but Wichita gives Tallahassee one before they all drive off together. End of movie. All right, guys. Yay indeed. But before we move on, want to give a shout out to our sponsors over at My Wall Street. So I've always thought about investing, never really had any idea about what stocks to invest in or how to start, even though my dad was a stockbroker. He just never imparted any wisdom on me. So My Wall Street was easy to set up, and the best thing about, there are so many thousands of stocks to choose from. It's really overwhelming. But the best thing about My Wall Street is that they offer a short list of stocks that their experienced investors had spent countless hours researching. So they act as kind of an investing companion, guiding you on building a diverse and long-term portfolio. So with their app, you can invest and learn on the go. They believe that everyone should have the ability to shape their own financial future. They can show you how to invest, when you can and when you can't, and they look to incorporate the habit of investing into your daily lifestyle. So you can visit mywallstreet.com/wisecrack to download the app now and get access to their market-beating stock picks and expert guidance. After your trial, you can continue investing with them for just $9.99 a month. That's My Wall Street, spelled MYWALL, WALLST.com. And now back to the show.
Hey, Jared, real quick.
Yeah.
I have a funny personal trivia fact about me in this movie.
Oh, cool. Go for it.
I'm in a band with the clown that the guy sees in the bathroom stall, Jesse Eisenberg. Yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious.
No shit.
Yeah, he plays Nuke Boy in the Radioactive Chicken Heads, the drummer.
Oh,
so anyway, shout out to Aaron.
Shout out to Aaron. Very cool.
That is amazing. So, Jared, this was the first time you had seen this film. Had you intentionally ignored this film, or did it just kind of slipped under your radar?
I think it's exactly what Ryan said, is that when the time it came out, it was probably the 10th zombie movie that came out that year, or at least it felt like that, so I was kind of already done. Plus, I kept confusing this movie with Adventureland, which is just another Jesse Eisenberg movie with the name Land in it, and so I think the mixture of those two things made it so that I never actually got around to seeing it.
That makes sense. And you liked it. You enjoyed Zombieland.
I did enjoy it, yeah.
Is it just that it was funny, or was there something, did anything pull you a little bit? Like, did your heartstrings get a little tug at all?
I feel like you're baiting me into something.
I'm just curious if there's any substance here, or if it was just kind of like, it was entertaining zombie comedy film.
Well, okay, so do you want me to guess on what your hot take is, or at least one of them?
Yeah.
So I don't remember who it is that says this, whether it's Zizek or maybe even one of this other philosopher, Alfie Bound, that we've worked with before, but he says that we can more easily imagine the end of the world more so than the end of capitalism. And I feel like this whole movie being that it's kind of an actual utopia that we're experiencing. Like, that's the funniest.
What do you think, you know me? You think you know me or something?
Wait,
Jared?
is this one of them?
Yeah, kind of.
Yes, I knew it. Yeah, because like this, I mean, what I find funny is that most zombie movies are dystopias, and this is kind of a utopia where not only
100%.
Where not only is it that everyone's having a lot of fun, like
they're sad though. They're sad. He says he misses people.
But does he really? Even when he finds out that his parents were killed, he's just like, oh, well, I guess then I'm going to pursue this really hot chick that's right next to me.
Well, he found a new family.
No, he did find a new family.
But it's bittersweet.
Yeah, that's what's amazing about it at the end, right? Where he says, like, this is our fucked up little family. And then he gets in the car with them and they drive over the zombie and stuff like that. And you're kind of like, haha, it's funny, but it's really kind of lovely. Like, if I ever teach a class on philosophical anthropology, I have long thought that I would use this film as kind of a really lovely way of thinking about what a family is in the midst of, like, the non-human, right? So what does it mean to be non-human? What does it mean to be human? And you have this ragtag group of people with all their individual assets, and they come together and they have this weird little family where all fucking one guy wants is a Twinkie. The one sister just wants to give her younger sister some semblance of peace, and so kind of lies to her about how there's this place where there are no zombies. And then, you got Jesse Eisenberg's character, who's always been a loner. He's never been able to get the girl, and he finally kind of finds that family in the midst of this world of chaos. And so it is a dystopia, but it is, I agree with you, Jared. It's like this weird, happy, this is what it means to be a human in the midst of chaos kind of story. I love it because of that. Yeah,
I always find it funny how I'm always talking about how there are some people who are always preparing for the apocalypse, and I almost feel like they're looking forward to it. They can't wait because a lot of people that are these people who hoard weapons and hoard plans and have an escape route and stuff like that, which, hey, I should probably get on that, not to judge them or anything, but I kind of feel like there's an element of, man, my life sucks right now in the current condition, but I would be really good in a zombie apocalypse. And
hell yeah.
Yeah. And
hell yeah.
Do you feel that way, Ryan?
I do feel that way, but I would not look forward to it. But I do think that if it came down, if the shit went down, I'd have a plan.
There's an element.
So this is my hot take. Is I actually think that what these disaster films do is they help us to formulate our own type of algorithms so that we can mitigate or manage in the form of kind of like, let's use financial language, like risk management. We can manage the uncertainty and the chaos of life or of economic systems or whatever, right? So that's what you get in this film, is you basically have a narrative linear algebra where you have different inputs in a formula. You've got one guy who's good with weapons and he's a bit of a badass. You've got one guy who's neurotic and he's got his lists. You've got one woman who is protective and she's also a badass, but she also wants to make sure that she can give her sister some peace and some reprieve, and that's her goal. And then you got the younger one who's also kind of feisty and spunky, and she herself is quite resourceful and clever. They're con artists, so that's great. And so you have all of them that come together, and those are like all the inputs, all the variables of your formula, so that you can mitigate the disaster of the zombie apocalypse. And that's what you use in finance as well, to mitigate the uncertainty and the disasters of capitalism, is you just trust on the algorithm, and the algorithm is what saves you. But with Zombieland, what you have like an algorithm of pathos or an algorithm of narrative, and that's what saves you. And it kind of is like an expression of how it is that we are constantly facing the chaos of capitalism, or the chaos of imperialism, or the chaos of colonialism, or whatever, right? That is constantly facing us in a world of uncertainty, is we're just plugging things into these formulas so that we can have our own little algorithms to give us some semblance of control or risk management. And that's what I think is so interesting about this film. But I love it at the same time. You want to be in that world.
So do you think, yeah, because it's not only, so a couple things. One, I think that there's an element of Jesse Eisenberg. He's almost like, man, if everything just went the way it was, I would still be a loner drinking Mountain Dew Code Red, playing World of Warcraft. My virginity's still intact. But now that I'm surviving the apocalypse and there's Emma Stone's right there, my chances with her would have been minuscule in the past, but now, there's a real chance. And I think that's part of the utopia.
Yeah, it's like that end of the world thing, right? Where it's like, hey, if there was only one man and one woman left on the world, and it was me and, I don't know, Bar Raffaelli or something like that, like I'd have a real chance with her,
And then
I'm sorry, go, Joe.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say that I kind of see what y'all are saying, but the one thing I think that really bolsters or sets it up visually in the film is the fucking amazing opening credits of this movie with Metallica, For Whom the Bell Tolls playing. Like that makes it to where I'm like, all right, I would like to be in this zombie apocalypse just because it looks badass,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But at the same time, when I think about it for 5 seconds, I'm like, no, I wouldn't. But
yeah, like 28 Days Later is not a film that I want to be in. Like, I don't want to be in that world. Those zombies are scary as fuck, and it looks really bleak and dark. Whereas, like, Shaun of the Dead, I'm kind of like, well, I could be in that movie because those zombies kind of suck and you got your homies with you. And then Zombieland is kind of that as well. You're kind of like, well, these zombies aren't really... I mean, they're pretty tough, though, in Zombieland. They're not quite as pathetic as they are in some zombie films, like Night of the Living Dead or something like that. Yeah, they're running zombies. But at the same time, you're kind of like, I don't know, man, if I just had a band of brothers together where we could just each... I don't know, use our skills and get access to an arsenal of weapons and maybe a boat and some endless supply of canned goods, we could make a real go in Zombieland,
Yeah.
Like, I'd have some fun. Like, what would you do? Like, each of you know how they find that Native American store and they just fuck shit up? If you had that kind of freedom and you could go to an amusement park and turn everything, like, what are the things you would do if you were in this free landscape of Zombieland where you could just kind of do your own shit?
I'd probably go to Las Vegas and Disney World.
Wait, but what's in Vegas? You're going to get a gamble with money that has no value?
No,
you're going to go see strippers that are zombies?
Eat all the food.
Yeah, but the food's gone bad.
Oh, well, damn it. Where? Okay. All right. Well, that's the thing that I thought off the top of my head. What would you do, Jared?
I don't know. Fuck. This sounds lame. I'd probably go to like a library would be pretty awesome. You can still surround yourself with all these awesome books and maybe go to a Best Buy and get all the DVDs and Blu-rays you want. Just kind of shack up and build yourself a fortress with all the books and movies and snack foods that you could ever want, and then just live out the rest of your life and learn.
Yeah, you'd have to set up a badass fortress with like a 100-inch projection TV screen or something bigger, like just massive, right? You'd have to have that. You would basically, any material goods you would, and this would get boring after a bit because things really only have value in terms of them like having some sort of scarcity, right? Like some brand value. But there are certain things where, like, knowing what I know now and having developed the things that I like now, that I'd be able to really capitalize on. So like you say, Jared, I'd be able to have access to any fucking movie and any quality that I would want. I just have to find out where the source is, right? So you have to find out like all the good like secondhand shops that have like old movies that they're like restored or whatever, and you'd have to have a map where you're charting out what it is that you're gonna do to make sure that you actually get all the stuff that you would need. And then I'd probably play like golf because I'd just become a great golfer because you can do that by yourself. You can't really play basketball by yourself.
I mean, you can, but actually gets boring.
I'd go to like a military base and just get a bunch of bazookas and stuff, and then
you got it.
Like set up take a bulldozer, take a lot of time, and just set up humongous like pyramids of cars and stuff, and blow them up with my bazooka.
See.
Yeah, and that'd be great. And then you'd have to just figure out how to do that for the next 50 years of your life, because how many times can you blow up a pile of cars? I'm sure it'd be pretty awesome.
If I got Emma Stone and our 12 children that we've procreated, then we can do that for eternity.
Exactly. I mean, you even see the character Tallahassee at the end. He has a ball kicking the ass of everyone. It's like his dream. Even when he like fortresses himself in that little thing with the gates, and he's got his weapons and he's got his ammo, and even though it looks like there are too many zombies and he might get overwhelmed, nothing like that ever happens in this movie. There's no tragedy elements at all. I mean, name a zombie movie where none of the protagonists or the people that we care about, none of them die or get turned into a zombie. And that's just such a beautiful inversion in this movie that's just unbridled fun. I mean, well, Austin, what do you think about the fact that they're going to this playland? They keep on talking about how there's some sort of myth that there are no zombies there or anything, but what does that really mean? Like, are they really actually pursuing it because it's some place that they think they can live out the rest of their lives, or are they really just going there to have fun?
Well, I mean, I think that Tallahassee knows that it's not true, right? I think that he knows it's a myth and he goes along with it. In Wichita, I think she kind of believes it, even just a little bit. But I mean, for sure, Little Rock believes it, right? Abigail Breslin's character, she believes it for sure. But I think that the whole point is that they're going to go for just some semblance of reprieve. I think we're meant to think that that all of them have had really difficult time. We don't know how long it's been necessarily, right? But it's been long enough where they think that they're the only people left, pretty much. Like that there might be some survivors, but that they think they're really the only people left. Because remember, he's thinking that he's going to go home, and then he finds out from Wichita that no, it's just a total wasteland. So he still has a little bit. He has his kind of his heaven, if you will, his reprieve is being held out, and then that gets destroyed. And then they all kind of come together and say, well, fuck it, let's just come together and unite in whatever it is that we want. I think Tallahassee, though, doesn't have that. He doesn't have, because he's lost his child, right? And so he doesn't have any hope anymore. He's just pure sort of adjusted nihilist at that point. And he's like, fuck it, I'm just going to kill fucking zombies. That's his thing. Enjoy the little things. Give me a goddamn twink. Well, the Twinkie, I guess, is his reprieve, right? That's the thing he wants. They all have their like vision. Yeah, that's his goal. And then they all kind of unite. And then Wichita and Little Rock's goal becomes the united goal. And Columbus sort of adopts that goal, and he kind of embraces this idea of the heaven, so to speak. And then they get there, and it's fucking infested with zombies. And maybe it's this idea that there is no heaven, that the images that we have, they help us, they bind us together. It's kind of like the lie that you like to talk about, the noble lie. It's good to motivate us and bind us together, but then you realize the cracks in the lie once you actually get there. And then you have to just figure out how to make it work. And then that's what they find at the end. Tallahassee gets his Twinkie, and then they have each other, which each other are the real bond.
The destination is the family, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right.
Amen.
Before we move on,
but that bit I was gonna say where Tallahassee's like locked in and he's shooting all the zombies and shit, I get like really emotional during that scene. Like the first time I saw it, I thought for sure he's gonna die. I was like, this is the bit. He's going to go out gunslinging and he's going to save everybody else's lives and he's going to be the hero kind of thing. But then he doesn't. But I don't know, for some reason, it kind of gets me like like man emotional, where I'm like, that's like the single shooter in the bell tower that's saving the city kind of emotional. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like that kind of thing.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I thought he was about to die for a second, and I kind of felt a little bit of the emotion, but I find it funny how so many zombies overwhelm him, and he seemingly only has, I don't know, at max, like 35 bullets left, but he manages to kill them all, and it just cuts to all the zombies dead, and just, he's the ultimate badass. But
do we want to give our predictions for Zombieland 2? Do we think anyone's gonna not make it out alive?
Well, before we do that, real quick, Ryan, sorry, I just got to give a shout out to our sponsors over at Skillshare.
Oh, sweet, Skillshare.
Yeah, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of awesome classes covering dozens of creative and entrepreneurial skills. You can take classes in everything from photography and creative writing to design, productivity, and more. I've taken some Skillshare classes, whether you're returning to a long-time passion project or you're challenging yourself or simply exploring something new. Skillshare has definitely got a class for you. One class that I took recently was the Writer's Toolkit, taught by a writer named Simon Van Boye. It's called 6 Steps to a Successful Writing Habit. Writing has always been something that seems like torture, and then the more I put it off, the more torturous it gets. So he gives a lot of good tips for how to create a successful habit to make sure that you're actually getting stuff done. So 2 of the things that he talks about that really helped me is from now I only write my first drafts on paper. So he talks about finding your medium and whatever allows you to get the thoughts down easier. For me, it's a notepad. So that's made things a lot quicker. Also, making your own space is something he talks about. Where you write makes a big difference. So join the millions of students already learning on Skillshare today. With a special offer, you can get 2 months free by going to Skillshare.com/Wisecrack. That's Skillshare.com/Wisecrack for 2 months of unlimited access to thousands of classes for free. And now, back to the show. All right, well, before we talk about our Zombieland 2 predictions, I wanted to ask, Austin, what do you think about the reveal that it wasn't Tallahassee's dog that he was missing, but it was his son?
Oh, man, that shit gets me emotional. But I kind of knew that. I kind of thought it was a family thing, right? And then when you see the flashbacks and you see that it's like the dog, is it like eating peanut butter and stuff? And, you know, you're kind of like, oh, well, that's kind of sweet. And then it kind of makes sense. You're like this rough and rugged badass loves this puppy. And that's kind of sweet. But I didn't realize that they were going to do the full on, like, oh no, he's just hiding his emotion, right? Because it's almost like he's even lying to the audience, right? It's that he can't even. It's like this unreliable narrator thing, that he's so tough and he's so guarded and he's so hurt that he can't even let us see his inner thoughts. So he blocks it with this image of a dog, because that's not as exposing. Whereas the true vulnerable moment is when you realize, oh fuck, it's actually a child that he lost, which then makes his character, which makes you understand why he's even so hard, because he is, like I said a minute ago, he just kind of bathes in that nihilism, and it's kind of like he's gone mad in a sense. And I think that that's what we get from seeing that it's his son that is gone. Everything has been taken from him, so it doesn't fucking matter. So I'm just gonna literally throw myself into whatever I can to, 1, get revenge on all of these bastards, and 2, try to find some sense of maybe a perverse enjoyment in the midst of me finding how I can creatively kill all these fuckers, you know? So it's a way of coping. It's a coping mechanism in a way.
Yeah, maybe I'm just a sick fuck, but it meant more to, maybe it's just I'm a dog owner and I don't have any kids, but I was kind of disappointed to learn it was a dog. Plus, it's not that it didn't really work for me, but in the final showdown, we don't really see much of a damaged, vulnerable man. We see the same performative badass that we've seen for most of the movie.
Yeah. Well, I mean, don't you think that, I mean, and maybe this isn't the best way to tell a story, but we're meant to kind of fill in the gaps that all of that stuff has happened before. Like when they meet each other at the point where healing can happen now. And so it's almost like we have to fill in the gaps about why they got to be that way. So we don't really see much of like a character arc for all of them. Jesse Eisenberg we do. I mean, I guess we kind of do with Tallahassee. He becomes to embrace a new family, right? He comes to, Like in that sense, his is like a softening rather than like he learns a skill or something. It's that he agrees to go with Columbus to Pacific Playland to help him so that he can get the girl. And even though Tallahassee kind of viewed himself as the Lone Ranger, he kind of suspends his self-interests and maybe gets a little bit over his need for revenge because now he can have a new family and move on.
You know?
I think it's softening for all the characters because even both Wichita and Little Rock, as well as Columbus, are all breaking their rules at the end. So Wichita and Little Rock have the rule of just the two of us, no others. And so they end up breaking that rule at the end when everyone gets in the Hummer and drives off. Or maybe it's not the Hummer, it's a different car. And then Columbus breaks his don't be a hero rule when he kills a clown zombie in order to save his love. So yeah, I would agree that probably all the arcs kind of come to a point of softening, which, yeah, I mean, I think it totally works. One thing I wanted to point out, there was a reference, a very subtle reference. Well, first it was a subtle reference, and then it got less subtle to one of my favorite movies of all time, Deliverance. So,
booyah! I love that movie.
Oh, it's one of the best. So there's a part where they go into the grocery store because they're trying to find those Twinkies. This is before they meet Wichita and Little Rock for the first time, and Tallahassee whips out a banjo and he plays the jingle from the twin banjos part of Deliverance to lure out the zombies. And then as soon as a zombie comes out and he's about to kill it, he says, "You got a purty mouth." And the purty mouth thing is definitely obvious Deliverance. But when I was watching it, I was like, did they just do the Deliverance thing? And then it was confirmed when he said purty mouth, because that's one of the best movies ever made. And I was very, very happy to see
that's
them
one of my
reference
favorite
it.
movies too. You can go meet that guy. He works at the Walmart down in by the river in Arkansas.
Which guy?
The kid that plays the dueling banjos.
Oh, good to know.
Yeah, still there. I'm pretty sure. Last time I checked.
So,
do you think that was an improvised moment, or that was in the script? Because I kind of always read that as an improvised moment.
In Deliverance or Zombieland?
No, in Zombieland.
Oh yeah, I don't know.
Because I mean, Woody Harrelson's actually playing the banjo, right? So it's kind of like maybe that's all he knew, or does he actually play the banjo? I don't know. And maybe he's like, "Fuck it, I'm just gonna play a little ditty." And
my guess is it was scripted.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know.
Hard to say. Can we talk?
I don't know. Yeah.
Can we talk about? Okay, so you mentioned earlier breaking a whole bunch of shit in the very overtly Native American themed gift shop called Kimosabi. I mean, of course, it's hard not to look at that image of just a bunch of Americans going through Native American stuff and just tearing it to shit and not thinking that there might be some sort of commentary here about westward expansion. But I really wasn't able to come up with anything solid other than it being just kind of a little isolated wink and a nod without having anything really to say about the overall theme of the movie. But I wanted to throw that to either one of you if you have anything on that.
Well, I kind of wanted to double it back to Austin because you said that was your idea of complete freedom. But I was it that specific shop or just tearing up anything?
I mean, shoot, I don't know. That's a good question because I did grow up in like the sort of cowboy and Indian age, or I don't know if it was an age, but it was like I had a moment where that was a thing where I was obsessed with dressing up, you know. So I don't know. Maybe there's like some unconscious stuff that appealed to. I don't know. What were you thinking?
Oh no! I thought that you were saying that earlier. That you were like, that looked fucking fun.
For me, I think it's just any store, man. I mean, like even just going into like a fucking Best Buy. Since Jared mentioned that, I mean, how much fun would it be to just destroy all the stuff in there? Like,
I gotta be honest. I think that would be fun once. You know, I think it would get boring.
I think it'd be fun to.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say, like, go to like really big monuments. You know, like set up like a water slide at the Statue of Liberty or something similar to, stuff like that.
I think that there's this sense in which, right, like we constantly are walking around our daily lives. Don't go here, especially in certain places in America. I remember I found like this profound sense of freedom when I was living in the UK and in Ireland, where you are allowed to walk through farming fields without fear of somebody fucking shooting you because you're on your private property, right? Like in America, like I can't tell you how many times my friends and I got chased off of private property. You know, we'd be off exploring, taking our trucks and shit 4x4 wheel driving into places that we weren't supposed to be. And there's this constant threat, which also makes it fun, of course, right? But, there's this place we're constantly getting kicked out of places. Don't skateboard here. Don't do this, blah, 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 blah. How much fucking fun is it, though, when you find a place where it's like none of those restrictions are there and you can just experience that radical freedom? I think that's what I like about that scene. It's like, yeah, fuck it. We can just do whatever we want. We can throw a drum. We can knock over the shelves. Like, have you never been in a store and you've been tempted, like in a Ralph's or something, and you're like, wouldn't it be fun to just knock over these fucking shelves?
Oh, sure. Of course.
I mean, absolutely.
But
like, do it.
Yeah.
I mean, don't do it. But, in Zombieland, you can do it.
But I'm wondering, do you think that there's something with the fact that they're breaking a Native American themed store and all the things that they do or get excited about doing in the movie are all things that are quintessentially American, quintessentially consumerist. They want to go to a theme park. They want to get a star map on Hollywood and then go to Bill Murray's house and live the life of a celebrated celebrity. I feel like maybe I'm reaching, thinking there's some sort of commentary about America, but maybe not. It seems like there are two things that America is well known for in terms of destroying Indian land and being consumerist, but I don't know if it actually amounts to anything concrete.
So you think it's an indictment on the characters?
No, I just think it's essentially American celebratory spirit in a kind of wink, wink, nod, nod, kind of like semi-critical mode, but mostly just, because Americans like to have fun by tearing shit up, I think is basically it.
I don't know. The French are pretty good at tearing shit up when they protest. So, but no, I do see what you're saying. I do. That's interesting. I actually don't think that, I don't think that that's super heavy-handed, but I do think that is something that, like a nice provocative, deep read think piece could be written about that. Absolutely. Yeah. Because obviously it's intentional that they go into a Native American shop, right? It's not like they go into an electronics store. Yeah, exactly. I like what you said a minute ago, the idea of like the westward expansion, because that's precisely what they're doing, right? They're moving westward to get to California. Yeah, because they're going towards California. Because they end up in California at the end. So there is a westward move as well. God, that's interesting. I'd have to fucking think about that more, but I think you might be onto something there.
And then
number 3.
It's like a subtle, not so subtle nod to we're going west, but also it does seem weird. Like whenever it's happening, I'm like you, Jared. I'm like, am I supposed to be reading more into this? But I think that they're just throwing the imagery out there. I don't know if there's certainly, I don't know how many words that think piece could possibly be. It's just...
Also, the gift shop is called Kimosabi, and I know he's an actual figure, but I also know that I remember in the back of my mind, there's I've seen movies in which people will kind of derisively call anyone Native American, like, hey, Kimosabi. That's just like a name that they throw out for your average Native American person. And I was wondering if that was similarly also deliberate as kind of more disrespect towards the indigenous population.
Yeah, it's kind of just like a casual, disrespectful moniker. And the way that they just so easily walk into a place where you have relics of a culture that is thousands of years old that, one, have been commodified in this shop that is named with this trite cliche moniker, and then they just stroll in there and then they disregard the value of any of this stuff by just simply destroying it. There is something kind of flippant, maybe, about an American consumerist mentality that is, one, able to reduce the kind of richness of tradition into just commodified objects, but then, two, that then allows these people to kind of almost celebrate in their destruction of these commodities, right? So it's almost like a couple of things are being folded onto each other. Yeah, that's interesting.
Or just kind of like in the apocalypse,
nothing has value.
All this charged imagery really just, it's like, all right, let's just fuck shit up, and they could be anywhere and then do it, and it doesn't matter to them that some of this stuff is has cultural value to other people that aren't there at the moment.
How come indigenous voices are there any zombie movies or like cataclysmic dystopian films? Do indigenous people ever have a say in any of these films?
Is there not an indigenous person in The Walking Dead? I mean, I haven't seen all the seasons.
I have never watched it, actually, so you'd have to tell me.
Yeah, I've only seen up to like season 4 or something.
Because what I wonder is what would be like an authentic expression of how an indigenous community responds to dystopia, right? Like the American way of doing it is, we're gonna celebrate.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say it would just be redundant or something.
It'd be in Dead Man.
Oh yeah, Dead Man. Oh, interesting.
God, I haven't seen that.
That would be a good movie to do for the podcast. Here, I had like a quick take thought in the sense, so let me know what you think about this. It's like, it's not only that when shit is about to hit the fan, that Americans will just kind of like casually party and not really worry about it and only focus on, immediate gratification and fun. And then I guess the scathing commentary is even after shit has hit the fan, they still are pathologically only looking to have fun and get laid and just kind of focus on the same celebrity culture, stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, this is the logic of the algorithm that I was talking about earlier. We think of the algorithm purely in mathematical terms, but I think we can think of it also in terms of like our narrative forms. It's the way that we can kind of pacify our anxiety or our encounter with uncertainty or the real, we might say, or whatever it is that's actually confronting us that is beyond what we're able to manage. And so we rely on linear algebra, we rely on pathos, we rely on storytelling, we rely on whatever it is that we can so that we can plug in the formula so that we can try to like have a solution to the problem rather than actually really reconciling ourselves with contradiction, which would be, I think, a different approach, which is more like the psychoanalytic approach or the therapeutic approach or in philosophical terms like the Hegelian approach. It's not trying to overcome or reconcile contradiction, but it's reconciling with contradiction as being this thing. And that looks very different. Whereas the algorithm, whether it's in finance, this is what finance capital does, this is what pricing models do on the stock market, or whether it's in typical like Western storytelling where you've got like the hero's journey that ultimately has to lead to like this resolution where the world has changed, or at least his or her view of the world has changed, and that there's this point of self-revelation and all this other stuff. They're kind of all structured in a very similar way that is like this linear, unfolding process of management. How do we manage the chaos? Whereas like an ancient way of, I've been reading Ovid's Metamorphoses recently, and I'm going to be reading like Homer's Iliad and Odyssey soon as well. And when you just get into the mindset of the ancient understanding of storytelling, there's this sense in which like they've resigned themselves to the fates, right? Like, yeah, they pray to the gods, but even the gods are subject to the fates. And in Hinduism, you have the yugas, which is like this circular cycle. So there's like a different conception of time. It's not like you're ultimately going towards the alleviation of suffering. You're kind of just in the midst of it, and you deal with it in a way that is rather quite different than the Western mind, which is very much about progressing. That's why kind of like the modern narratives are all about progress, right? And scientific progress and technological progress, because they will get us to the promised land. And there's a real religious narrative in this. And I think that you get that in a film like Zombieland. There's this kind of pseudo-religious narrative. But what I think is interesting about this film is rather than say that like the promised land is in Pacific Playland or the promised land is in some sort of community where there's a fort, where there's weapons and there's military grade people and technology. It's that we just got each other and we're stuck in the midst of Zombieland. And that is why, to make a segue, I don't have much hope for Zombieland 2, because I feel like Zombieland 2 is going to lose so much of that intimacy in the midst of chaos and contradiction.
Ye of little faith.
I know, I don't, man, because I saw the trailer and it's got like all these other fucking characters and all this stuff, and I'm like, what made Zombieland so charming for me is that intimacy, and I think we're going to lose that.
We're going to have a great script by the same people. I think it's going to be great. I have a take on the Indian shop, though. His name is Columbus. Let's not forget.
Oh yeah,
and he's
interesting.
he's wrecking shop on that Indian shop. So I think that's a not so subtle metaphor.
Interesting.
Yeah. There we go.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Do you care about Zombieland 2, Jared? I mean, I know Ryan
I'll see it. But I'm going to see it probably more because it's probably going to be a good time more than I'm hoping for any kind of scathing commentary about the state of the world. But
and Adam worked on it. Our roommate Adam worked on it.
Oh, cool.
And Adam got a shot in the fucking movie.
Again, this is the second time. Remember he was in
No, I think this is the first time.
Oh.
Well, I mean, like literally he filmed it on his phone, and he just had his phone off to the side, and he filmed the shot, and then it looked so badass that they were like, send us that shot. We're going to probably put that in the movie.
Nice.
And
Awesome.
I'll let you know after I see it.
All right. Anything else you guys want to bring up before we go into our mailbag?
Just that Metallica scene. I just can't stop thinking. I mean, that's top 10 intro credit title sequence scenes to me. That movie, that part just gets me so pumped up. And I love the line where they're looking for Twinkies at Bill Murray's house, and then Emma Stone goes, "I told you we should have gone to Russell Crowe's."
Yeah, it's a very special Bill Murray moment.
Good joke.
Yeah.
I mean, the last thing I'd say, just like, and from like a formalist perspective, I really like how the rules pop up in the text. Like, I think that's so clever, and like when it intensifies at one point, I think it's the cardio bit where it's, cardio kind of pops up, but then when it's like really urgent, it starts blinking, like little things like that. There's a sense in which it's a really well-made film. And see, I have not been as excited about Ruben Fleischer's subsequent films.
No, they've not been that good.
Yeah, so I think that this, like, he just was hitting on all cylinders in this film in particular.
I think he had a lot to prove, and then he proved it, and then I don't know, but like what was it, Gangsterland or Gangster Squad pretty much sucked. It had some cool stuff, and then he also had Venom, which, oh my God. Which I don't necessarily attribute to him. I'm sure he got caught up in the Marvel machine, but the movie blows, I think.
Yeah.
All right.
But I love this movie. Last thing I'll say, everyone go see it if you haven't seen it. It makes me so happy.
All right, so we're going to go into the mailbag. So Austin has not yet seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which is we got most of all of our voicemails this week were about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Wow. So we're going to spare him. We're going to do our voicemails about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood next week. When is the movie coming out, by the way, Austin? When are you going to be able to see it?
Next week. So it's out here on the 15th.
Okay. Wait, so that's next Friday. All right, well, if you do see it in time, and if we have you on next week, we'll do it then. But if you want to send us an voicemail, 213-534-8807 or 21-ELF-HUT-07 if you want to send us questions, comments, concerns, whatever. So actually, most of the mailbag emails that I pulled were also about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood because people were pretty adamant about having their voice heard about that movie, a lot of different takes on it. But I did get one email from Jack. Jack says, I know this is quite behind the times, but I was listening to the Show Me the Meaning backlog and felt compelled to comment regarding the interpretations of Hans Landa's actions in Inglourious Basterds. In my eyes, there's another level to Hans's interaction with Shoshana in the restaurant that you didn't cover. I think the creme can be understood as something French, polluted by something German, as is made explicit by his comment about the cigarette. Beyond this, milk is not just pure, it's feminine. The fact that Hans puts a dirty German phallic symbol into a French symbol of French femininity expresses his self-perceived dominance over Shoshana, mirroring the metaphorical domination of the French nation by German invaders in almost sexual terms. This theme is echoed by Private Zoller's actions throughout the film and reflects the underlying understanding the Nazis have about their presence in France. They are often polite, intelligent, and competent, yet because their motivation is a rapacious need for dominance, we as film viewers see them immediately for the villains they are, despite their pretension. Great email from Jack.
Yeah, holy shit, man.
That was awesome.
You're speaking my language, man.
Yeah, that was an awesome one. Seeing if there's any non-spoilery Once Upon a Time in Hollywood things. The joke is that I don't know if there's anything to spoil.
Yeah, I mean, I told you what I told you earlier, so if it has anything to do with that, just fucking let one rip.
I'm not going to give anything away. All right. If you want to send us an email, movies@wisecrack.co. That's .co, not .com. We'll do all of the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood stuff next week because we don't want to spoil Austin's viewing experience. I want to thank
you.
Ryan and Austin for joining me. Great to have the original trio back in action.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love you guys.
All right.
Me too.
I like talking movies with you guys.
Oh, we like it too, buddy. All right. You want to give us a sign off, Ryan?
Where can we find you on the internet, Jared?
Oh, sure, that. You can find me.
That's what you meant.
Oh, I meant Goodbye from Hollywood, California. But on the internet, you can find me on Wisecrack stuff. Oh, by the way, Wisecrack now has a partnership with Medium. So we are now publishing 3 articles a week. So if you go to medium.com/wisecrack, we're going to be uploading not only videos, but also articles. Alec has been working super hard on it. We're really excited to have all of our top writers writing articles for us. So definitely go to medium.com/wisecrack and subscribe to that page. We're going to be busting our asses, seeing if Wisecrack can live on a whole new platform. It'll be exciting.
Dude, that's awesome. That's really exciting. That's cool.
Yeah. So that's where you can find me. Ryan, where can people find you?
I release one short a week on Ryan Shorts on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and then I'll be on some Funhouse stuff every once in a while, Grand Theft Auto stuff and things like that. And so those couple places.
Yeah, I mean, Ryan's a YouTube celebrity now, so...
That's right.
No, I am not.
If you see him in public, make sure you buy him some Junior Mints at the movie theater.
If you are one of my 1.1 thousand subscribers and you see me out in the world, just come up and say what up, And buy me some Junior Mints at the movies.
Yes, Troy and I have a term for it. You know how there's influencers and then there's micro-influencers? Well, we're nano influencers.
Nice.
Yeah, I like that. I'll be a nano influencer.
So if you want to hit me up, you can hit me up on Twitter. It's Austin_Hayden. You can hit me up on Insta, AUS_HAY. And then I do a philosophy podcast called Owls at Dawn. And then actually my first book finally just got released, guys. So so it's out, but don't worry about it. I know. I'll definitely send one to the Wisecrack offices, but the paperback doesn't come out till next year, so it's only the ebook that is available, and then the ridiculously overly expensive hardback, which is only for libraries and like researchers who have book budgets and stuff like that through the universities and whatnot. So don't worry about that shit. But if you want the ebook, you could check that out. You can just Google my name, Austin Hayden Smith, and you'll be able to find the book. It's called Sartre, Imagination and Dialectical Reason, philosophy shit. So if you're into that, like deep philosophical stuff, you can check that out.
Deep nerd shit. Congratulations, man.
Yeah, good job.
Thank you.
All right, now give us the real send out, Ryan.
Well, real quick, I'm down to do that. Is it cool if I read a couple live comments?
Oh, sure.
Before we go. So, we had that open-ended question about what we would do in the zombie apocalypse, and we got a couple good answers.
Oh, let's hear it.
I saved a while ago. Somebody said, or Hannibal said he would take over the Costco down the road. That was a good idea. That's kind of what I was getting at with Las Vegas. I just thought it would be cooler to hang out there. But, you'd have plenty of food. Then this one person said they'd go to, Alex Ghost said he'd go to Area 51, which that's a great idea.
Yes.
You can see them aliens. No one's going to be...
Release them aliens.
Yeah, no one's going to be guarding them.
Yeah. And then...
wait, would they be zombied aliens? Like, does it affect aliens?
There's only one way to find out.
Yeah. Could you imagine if the Greys were also zombified? So you'd have like zombified Greys flying around in their fucking UFOs?
I'm into it.
That's a world I'd kind of like to see. And then Carlos said that he'd go guitar. He says guitar shop for me. He'd find a place with a generator, plug in a 120 watt amp, and play a concert for the whole world. I'd like that answer too.
It'd be your last concert though, Carlo, because you'd be attracting all those zombies, and then you'd be food.
Yeah.
All right.
And you better hope that you're not living in the Quiet Place apocalypse, because then you're really fucked.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, rule number 1, show them the meaning. We did that. Rule number 2,
Goodbye from Hollywood, California.
Peace.